Okay, morning class. Today we're going to have a look at if statements. We have done it before, so it should be fairly easy. This is a video, obviously, so feel free to pause it anytime and go back and check something I've said or something on one of the slides. You don't have to go through it. You can go back and watch it anytime you want. So the title is if statements. The do it now task is to write these 3 questions down and try and answer them if you can. Number 1, what is a variable? Number 2, what is a data type? And finally, number 3, how do we set up a variable in Visual Basic? Okay, slide 2. If statement, the answers. What is a variable? It's a location in memory where we store information that can be changed, but that's the definition. How do we set up a variable in Visual Basic? We do dim, which stands for dimension, then the variable name, in this instance my name, and as string being a data type. Slide 3, lesson objectives. To understand why and when we use if statements, to create a program that uses one or more if statements. This will be done on paper. If you do have access to Visual Basic or the internet, there are some online Visual Basic editors that are quite good. Feel free to use those and take a screenshot and upload that instead of pen and paper if you find that easier. So the definition of selection, which is what an if statement is. Selection is where the computer program will do something different based depending on the path that it goes down. For example, if the user types in the letter A, the computer could say hello. If they type in B, they could say goodbye. That sort of idea. When we do something like this in selection, we call it an if statement. So you could list, if you want to do this little activity, this is on slide 5, what is an if statement? You could list down as many scenarios you can think of where you can have a choice. For example, if I don't complete my homework, will I get a C1? We're going to skip slide 6. If you want to go to type in Google random card generator and give it a go, you can try that activity. I believe I did it all in class before though. So slide 7, this is where we actually get around to coding one. So this is how it works, a basic example. Remember, this is a video, so you can pause it and come back to this slide anytime whenever you're doing your actual task later on. So if number being the variable, is less than 6, we would write hello. And then we would end if, just for a very basic example. Then it goes down to an else statement to kind of complete the code logically. So if number is less than 6, then we'll say hello. If the number is greater than 6, then we'll say world, or you could write whatever you want. There is a logic error in there. If you can tell me and show my homework what that is, I'll be super impressed. I'll make sure I'll put some merits on when we get back. So, slide 8, task 1. Write a program that asks the user their age. This has, apologies, and then so put in different examples. So you could say if you are under 5, you should be in nursery. You could say if you were between 6 and 11, you should be in primary school, and so forth and so forth. On the slide, you'll see an example of an if statement based on age, sort of saying if your age equals 15, then you are not old enough to drink. I believe you guys are capable of using the information on the screen here on the task 1 slide to make your own program. So you've got an example of how to set up the variable. You've got an example of how to ask a question. You've got an example of how to read the user input, and then you can do the if. And also in a little smaller window, there's an if, else if, and end if. So let's say the challenge is to put in as many as you can. You could put, if you're under 40, you should say you should still be at work. If you're under 50, you should be looking after your grandkids. If you're over 60, you should be retired. That sort of thing. Use your imagination, take your time, use a pen and paper. If you don't have access to a computer, that's completely fine. Whatever way you want to do it. Like I say, there are online editors. If you search Google for online Visual Basic editor, there's 2 or 3 really good ones. And that is basically your task for this challenge. If you want to go on to this task 2 on slide 9, there's some code already written on there with full of errors. So if you want to write down that code or put it into an online editor and fix it for me and somehow send proof, that would be great. So again, it's a video, so there's no real time limit. You can pause it, come back whenever you want, and then just as and when you want to upload it to show my homework, I will have a look at it and give you some feedback or marking, whatever you want to call it. Finally, slide 10, we have lesson objectives. The point of the lesson was to get you guys aware of how to use it, what an if statement is, why to use one, and how they actually look in Visual Basic. If you want to move on to the end of the video, there's a couple of quick questions, which I believe we've done before. What type of data is integer? how do we declare a variable, and how do we end an if statement. And then if you want to move on to slide 12 when you've had a go, the answers are: an integer is a whole number, dim is how we set a variable, stands for dimension, and we end an if statement with simply end if.